Okay, the final thing we need to look at is our readme.txt file. So let's go ahead and load that up. There's no particular standards when it comes to the readme.txt file. The general idea is that it should be as helpful as it needs to be to give a user the ability to find out if the module is what they need and how to install it, as well as any particular instructions that go along with the module in order to get it to work. There are several structures out there that people use, and if you scroll to the bottom of this, you'll see this URL here that has some examples. So if we go there, I'm going to go ahead and copy that URL, and we're going to navigate to that page. There are a few links here to example README files. I'm going to go ahead and open these in additional tabs, and we can look at these one by one. Let me just talk briefly about the features of each one of these. In this style, the titles are in all capitals and they're underscored with dashes. There's a contents of this file section at the very top, which has an index of all of the subsections, so this can be useful for a quick overview of what's in the README. It starts out with an introduction, which is a description of how the module came to be and what it's supposed to do. This one starts with a line indicating who the current maintainer is and an email address, although you could easily replace this with your Drupal user contact form if you're not comfortable using an email. A description, installation instructions, and an explanation of the API of this module. So if your module doesn't have an API, you wouldn't do that. And finally, there's a design decisions section that indicates why certain choices have been made in the module. So this is kind of like a frequently asked questions page that indicates what might not actually be a bug, but be something that's there by design. So this can be useful for helping people help themselves in terms of support. Let's look at the next one. This style also uses all caps for the titles and uses dashes to either side of the title to indicate a heading. One notable difference here is that under the installation instructions, instead of detailing it line by line, there's actually just a link to the default module install instructions. So this way your README file can be a little simpler. And in this version, there's a configuration section, which indicates what configuration options exist for this module. This can be really handy when you're evaluating a module because you want to know what exactly you can tweak. This readme.txt file also includes a customization section, which indicates what supported methods there are for altering the way that the module works. So in more complex modules, this might also be the API section that includes how to customize the module through the API calls. But this module is a little simpler, so there's just a couple of examples of how to override some visual settings for this one. And down at the bottom, there's a troubleshooting, FAQ, and contact section. So this is basically a support section split up into three according to how commonly that information will be needed. And finally, since this module has been sponsored, there's some information about the different sponsors down here at the bottom. Let's go ahead and take a look at a third example. This one contains some nice formatting. At the very top, it begins with Drupal module. So this can be useful if somebody came across this README in some other location if it had accidentally been dragged and dropped somewhere else. There's some information about the authorship, the name of the module, and what version of Drupal it works with. And the rest of this is simply a description and installation instructions. Okay, now let's go back to our README file in our scaffolding folder. I have one more URL here at the bottom that is a discussion about coming to a decision about standards regarding the readme.txt file. So instead of having these multiple formats, there would be a standard. If you're curious, you can go ahead and read it. It's a pretty long discussion, but there's some interesting thoughts here on what might be important with a README and what's extraneous information. So I have this set up as a template that you can use for your own module. At the very top, we have the ID tag that we also saw in the .module file and the .info file. In fact, you're going to see this ID tag in every file in a module directory. And underneath this, you're going to see a number of headings, which are in all caps and are underscored with dashes. At the very top is a contents of this file section. I think an index table of contents is a good idea. An introduction, what the module is all about. In this case, there's a link to the default installation instructions for a module, but if your module contains some special installation instructions, such as there's a library involved or special configuration that needs to happen after it's installed, then you want to put those pieces under this installation section. And then finally, I added a section with additional information about the README, which you should remove if you use this as a template.